Hello, welcome to the Refugee Welcome Collective Lunch and Learn series. In these sessions, we aim to bring interesting and timely information to you, supporters of refugees. Whether you're a volunteer, community sponsor, resettlement agency staff, a local advocate, or just someone who's interested in learning more, we hope that you enjoyed today's session. Core, Introduction to the Cultural Orientation Resource Exchange. Refugee Welcome Collective collaborates with partners to provide in-depth training programs, weekly learning sessions, resources, and on-demand technical assistance for sponsors, practitioners at resettlement agencies, refugees paired with sponsors, community and institutional partners, and others to support quality community sponsorship programs across the United States. Go on to the housekeeping slide, please. As a reminder for everyone joining the call today, there's a control panel in your upper right-hand corner that will allow you to submit questions through the questions box. There will be ample time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. Everyone on today's webinar is automatically muted. However, if you have any technical issues, please raise your hand through the control panel or submit a question in the questions box so we can assist you. Additionally, the presentation, any resources, and a recording will be sent to everyone following today's webinar. This brings us to our presenter for today. Please make sure we're on that slide. Manar Maroof, Senior Training Coordinator at CORE. Manar, I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you, Derek. Welcome, everyone. My name is Manar Maroof, and today I'm going to present to you about CORE and what we do at Cultural Orientation Resource Exchange. Next slide, please. So yes, my name is Manar Maroof, and Derek, as of last week, my title changed. I am an education officer right now, and in this capacity, I work on, like I said, capacity building initiatives with CORE, including designing and implementing training opportunities, such as webinars and other resources to help service providers deliver effective cultural orientation. And as you will see in later in the presentation, I will talk to you more about what these opportunities are and more about CORE and cultural orientation. Next slide, please. So for today, our agenda is to learn about what cultural orientation is. So what is cultural orientation? And we're going to learn more about the cultural orientation objectives and indicators. And then after that, we will learn more about CORE resources. Next slide, please. Okay, so I have a question for you. And thank you, Derek, in advance for launching this to us. So which of the following statements are true for you? And please select all that apply. I am new to refugee resettlement. I am familiar with CORE. Our organization uses community sponsors and volunteers. Let's take a few moments so that everybody gets a chance to respond. Okay, as you can see on the screen, 100% voted I am new to refugee resettlement, and 100% voted that your organization uses community sponsors and volunteers. 0% though voted I am familiar with CORE. So you've come to the right place. You're new to refugee resettlement and you are here to learn more about CORE. Wonderful. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is cultural orientation? Next slide, please. By definition, cultural orientation provides refugees with the vital knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to adapt to their new lives and achieve self-sufficiency. And we say refugees, but we can also here include any like newcomers under different statuses, as we've been seeing. So in this session, you will learn about the process of cultural orientation, including content covered and the roles of volunteers and community partners in this implementation. It is an iterative process that begins overseas and is continued once the refugees arrive in the United States. And you will see that the same information could be covered multiple times during different stages in the resettlement. So they, like I said, refugees will hear the same information during this process. And you will see firsthand throughout our presentation today that you will hear some of the strategies used by CO providers to deliver messages in an engaging manner that enhances information retention amongst refugees. What I am going to do right now is I am going to take you to our website to learn more about cultural orientation. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So this is our website, Cultural Orientation Resource Exchange. And if you go here, you will learn about cultural orientation. And in this page, you will find more information about what is cultural orientation, what are some of the topics covered during cultural orientation classes, and we will come back to this later on as we talk about the resources that we have. But in a nutshell, newcomers will learn about how to find a job. They will learn about US laws, public education for children and adults, banking, money management, how to access healthcare services, and things like that. And if you go down, you will see who is involved in cultural orientation. Abroad or overseas, they are called Resettlement Support Centers, RSCs. And they are, what they do with regards to cultural orientation is that they deliver overseas cultural orientation. And as you can see on this interactive map here, we have multiple refugee support centers across the world. And if you click here, for instance, on the RSC Tumi, which is Turkey and the Middle East, it'll tell you, it'll give you more information about where it is located, how long the session is, who are the primary populations served in that location, and some more information that you might find helpful just to give you background on what is involved in cultural orientation. And in the US, you will find here an interactive map of resettlement agencies. In the United States, there are 9 resettlement agencies that are that deliver domestic cultural orientation, among other services, of course. But because we're talking about cultural orientation, I'm going to focus on that specific piece. So if you go, for instance, to Iowa, if you click on Iowa, you will find more information about what nonprofit organizations or what resettlement organizations exist there. So this is really very important if you want to learn more, or if you're helping somebody find services in different states, that will be very helpful to them. You will also find more resources here on our website to help you learn about cultural orientation. And in that, you will find we have a certification course that we recommend that all new cultural orientation providers take, because it provides foundational knowledge on cultural orientation, learning methodologies, and delivering effective cultural orientation. You will have webinars. You will find our webinars. We do webinars and trainings, like I said earlier, and you will find best practices, effective practices, and how-to guides, among other other resources. And in here you will find, and we will talk about them in a minute, you'll find more resources on lesson plans, activities, and like information about the refugee populations, etc. Next slide, please. Wonderful, thank you. So I have a scenario for you. As a result of climate change, all of the humans on Earth have become refugees. You have fled to a new life-sustaining planet, Vulcan. Vulcan is a hotter, more massive planet than Earth, made of desert and mountains, with interspersed seas. Vulcan is inhabited by Vulcanians. When you arrive, you are asked to attend cultural orientation to learn more about your new home. Please share in the chat, what would you expect to learn during cultural orientation on this new planet that you have just arrived to?
I would also say to anyone to please actually put it in the questions pane if you would like to answer and participate. I think we're able to see that better. For some reason, I think the chat has some limitations. So please, in the questions box, you know, type what would you expect to learn on during cultural orientation involvement. Hopefully we have one or two people that are willing to just try it out, to go ahead and voice their opinion.
Yeah. But just share with us, feel free. It's really, what is the first thing that comes to mind? That even if we change the scenario to like you move to a new country, what are some of the things that you need to learn for yourself in order to have an easy start in this country? I'm not able to see questions or.
Yeah, and it might be that either no one is feeling ready to participate, and if not, that's okay. I'll go ahead and answer.
Yes, please.
A couple. Please. I mean, one I would. I'd like to know maybe just some common sort of laws, so make sure that. I mean, I assume no stealing and no killing. That might be kind of easy top, but maybe like you're not supposed to step on the grass over here, or you're not supposed to do something like that. Just simple things. I'd want to make sure that I understand the general sense of like what's okay to do and what's not okay to do, or things like that. So
thank you very much.
Where I can ride a bike, or where maybe can I drive a car, that kind of thing.
These are all correct answers. Thank you, Derek. And I also just want to add something from my own experience. I came to the United States a little less than 9 years ago. And one of the things that I, for instance, wish that I knew early on about Social Security numbers, and that this is your Social Security number. You shouldn't share with anybody. You should keep it in a secure place. One of the things that helped me a lot was learning about the education system in the United States, because I came to study, and that was very helpful for me to navigate the graduate programs or graduate education rules and laws, and how people interact with each other, how people interact with their professors. When I started working, I really I was glad that I learned about how people communicate in the workplace, how to write a resume, how to talk in a job interview. So these are all skills that are very important for someone for newcomers. And these are, as you will see in a minute, these are topics that are covered in cultural orientation. Many of them are covered in cultural orientation. Next slide, please. This is a quote that I really like by a former resettled refugee from Denver. I was speaking with him about cultural orientation and his experience with cultural orientation. And he said, and I'm quoting verbatim here, he said, "America is like a house and cultural orientation is the key to open the door." So yes, you're here and you feel safe and settled and all of that, but that does not mean that you are ready with all the tools and the skills that you need to succeed. So cultural orientation is that key that will help you start your life here in the United States. I am going to share my screen right now to talk a little bit more about the topics covered in cultural orientation. Thank you, Grace. So here, this is the page that focuses on objectives and indicators. And objectives and indicators, like I said, these are the topics these are documents that include the topics that should be covered in cultural orientation. And if we go here, you will see that there are 3 cultural orientation objective and indicators documents. The first one is the overseas. If you remember when we talked earlier about refugee support centers, this is the guiding documents for cultural orientation providers at the RSCs to teach. And then here you find the reception and placement cultural orientation objectives and indicators. We call them RMP, and this is what we refer to as the domestic cultural orientation objectives and indicators. And here you will find here the Afghan placement and assistance cultural orientation objectives and indicators. So if we go here, are you able to see the APA objectives and indicators?
Yes.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so this is, once you click on this document, you will be able to see what objectives there, like you will see the topics, and there are 12 topics. And then here you will be able to see the objectives and the indicators. So for instance, one of the main objectives for the local resettlement agency is that the local resettlement agency is not a government agency. And this is a very important distinction that newcomers need to know. So that's one of the things that are covered in cultural orientation. If you go here under, let's say, English, one of the objectives is to teach newcomers that for adults and children, learning English is critical to successful adjustment in the United States. And for the indicators, for instance, the participants can list reasons why learning English is important for successful adjustment in the United States. And you will see later, when I share more about our resources, you will find activity banks for many of these topics that you can take and modify based on your own needs and your own audience so that you can teach those topics. Next slide, please. Hey, so who is CORE? Who are we? There is a video that we were hoping to share with you, but earlier we were having issues with the sound system. So instead, we are going to share that in the resources that Derek will share with you later on. And instead, we are going to go to the website again and to learn more about who is CORE.
I'm sorry, did you want to go to the next slide or did you need to go back to the website?
I want to go to the website because, like we said, the video is not working.
Yeah, no problem. 1 second.
Yeah. Great. Are you able to see here?
Yes.
Great. So on this page under About, you will learn more about CORE. So who is CORE? We are a technical assistance program that supports refugee resettlement staff globally to deliver effective cultural orientation to newcomers, and that includes refugees, special immigrant visa holders, like we said, Afghans who arrived over the last year. So what we do is we help service providers or cultural resettlement staff directly by the resources that we have, and these can, like we said, include online and in-person learning opportunities. We have courses that you can learn, webinars that you can attend, and lesson plans, activities that will help you do your job, you know, that give you all the resources for you to deliver your job effectively. And then we indirectly provide resources to refugees, and I will talk about that in shortly. And that includes the resources that are refugee facing that will have essential and vital knowledge that they need so that they can succeed in the United States. So like we said, we are funded by the US Department of State, Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migrants. We call it PRM, and we are administered by the International Rescue Committee. We serve, like I said earlier, those refugee support centers abroad that are administered by organizations like CWS, HIAS, IRC, IOM, and ICMC. And then in the United States, we support, like I said, the 9 resettlement organizations. And if you go and click here, you will find more information on these organizations. Like I said, we have resources that help train resettlement staff. We have resources for refugees, and we aim to provide the resources that people need for cultural orientation. This is our team. If you want to learn more about our team, we are a team of 12 individuals at the moment. We are growing, and we have multiple or a variety of experiences in refugee resettlement, humanitarian assistance, training, capacity building, education, digital communications, etc. So if you want to go here and learn more about who we are, you can feel free to go there, and we will share those resources with you after the webinar. Next slide, please. Great. Now, I just briefly mentioned what resources we have for you, but now we will delve into more detail about what those resources are. So the website that I've been showing you earlier is called the Cultural Orientation Resource Exchange website. And Grace, if you can gracefully take us back where I can share my screen. Perfect. Okay, great. So this is our website, like I told you. If you this is where we went to learn about core and cultural orientation. If you go under Learn, you will find our online courses and webinars. And in order to access those, you need to register here so that you can have access to those resources. If you are a provider and you want to onboard volunteers and new staff, on how to teach cultural orientation, you can go here and find a lot of resources related to that. And we know that our clients come from different backgrounds and speak different languages, and it's not necessarily true that we will be able to speak all of these languages as service providers. So we need interpreters to support us, and they're integral in this process. So these are resources to help you if you go here to work with interpreters. So we have glossary of terms that you can find in multiple languages, including Arabic, Burmese, Dari, Pashto, Kinyarwanda, Russian, Spanish, and Swahili. You will find like more information on how to prepare an interpreter before the session. And if you are an interpreter, there are tips for you on how to manage the preparation and delivery of cultural orientation, and there are many more resources for here for you. And like you might find that those resources might a lot. You can pick and choose, and like a lot of them talk about similar things, but you know, you can find what works best for you and use it. And like for Teach, like I said, we have resources including the curriculum and lesson plans. We have the activity bank that includes activities in on multiple topics that you can go to. There are multiple activities. You can choose the ones that work best for you. Some of them can be used in person. Some of them can be used virtually. So you can choose, like I said, whatever works for you and for your students or for your clients. And like I said, here we have more resources on COVID-19. There are resources for refugees and many more. The second resource that we have is the cultural orientation, the Core Nav or Core Navigator. This is a refugee-facing resource, and as you see here, you will have it in multiple language. Let me take you here. So this is all the languages that the refugees, if they go here, and I recommend that you share this link with them, that they can access those resources. Let's just do a quick review of the English one. If you go here, you will find the refugee admissions program, which is for refugees who are not in the US right now. And this is for the refugees or the newcomers who are in the United States. If you go here, you will find the topics that are included in cultural orientation per the objectives and indicators. So there are 12 topics, including employment, housing, education, resettlement agency, health, community services, rights and responsibilities, learning English, money management, transportation, and cultural adjustment. If we click under employment, you will find resources in multiple formats or multiple media. Some people prefer to read and they learn more by reading, or they are literate so that they can read, so they can access this resource. As if people maybe they are not literate, pre-literate, or they have problems with reading, they can listen to a podcast to get the same information. And for those who are visual learners, or again who are not literate, they can watch. So as you can see here, our resources are made for multiple types of learners to access the same information. The other resource I want to share with you is the Settle In app, and we have a desktop version, and we have the phone version that refugees that can use. And what you can do is you can help them download that on their phone if they have a phone, and it is now in these languages, but we are adding more languages. So if you click on English, it's taking some time, and just in the interest of time, like you can see here, it'll ask you certain questions to prompt you to certain topics. Like I said, in the interest of time, we're not going to go into much detail about it. The phone version has more languages that refugees can use and get bite-sized information on their own. And the last resource I want to share with you is that we have a Facebook page called Settle In. And this Facebook page is in English, Dari, and Pashto, and it is specifically for Afghan newcomers. This page is administered by our digital community liaisons, who monitor this page, answer questions, during, of course, business hours, but usually the questions are answered within 24 to 48 hours. It is highly interactive. As you can see, people are messaging and our digital community liaisons respond. We have live events sometimes to help Afghan newcomers learn more about life in the United States. And it is a great resource for you if you are trying to get to learn more, but also if you have Afghan newcomers, you can direct them to this page where they can talk with people who speak their languages directly. But let's go back to the presentation, please. Okay, time for questions. Please write your questions in the questions tab, and I will be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manar. I will as I said, we have some time right now for people to go ahead and submit some questions. I don't see any yet in the questions box, but you still have time to do that right now. I was gonna ask you if I could, as we sort of wait, if anyone else would like to ask any questions. So you had spoke about getting registered, and to do that, I guess traditionally you go through a resettlement agency, and it's usually the resettlement agency staff. But as we know, there's a big push for community partners and co-sponsor groups and volunteers. So how have you been moving towards that, or at least allowing the opportunity for co-sponsors and volunteers to provide cultural orientation? Do they need to go through like a certification process or to get registered? How does that happen?
Yeah, thank you so much. So as I showed earlier, in order to access our resources, you need to register to our website. And once you are registered, you will be, if you are working with newcomers, and there are questions that will prompt you to ask you those questions. Now the process that we have is automated, so once you provide the information, you don't have to wait for our approval. You will be approved to join the system, to join our learning management system. And once you are a registered user, you will be able to access our courses. Like I said, we have a certification course, and it's a foundational course that starts literally from like, who are the refugees that are coming to the United States? What is the refugee admissions program? And then it talks more into how to teach cultural orientation topics, how to make your class student-centered, what are the best or the effective teaching methodologies. Like what we do, we encourage people to learn about the adult learning principles and strengths-based approach, among others. So you will find these are 30 to 45-minute courses that you can take on your own. These are self-paced courses that will provide you with the foundational information so that you can access, learn more about cultural orientation and how to teach cultural orientation. We also have the webinars that we've done in the past, which are 30, 45 to an hour webinars that you can watch on your own. You can watch them also on our website. I can also provide the link to that. Sorry, not our website, our YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of videos in language, in refugee and newcomer languages that you can share with them to learn more about certain cultural orientation topics. So yes, that was my long-winded answer. My short answer is we highly recommend anybody who wants to teach cultural orientation to newcomers is to go through our certificate course, because it'll make it much more, like, it'll make it easier for you to teach cultural orientation.
That's wonderful. So I just want to confirm that if someone is a community partner, a co-sponsor group, a member, an individual volunteer working with refugee clients, they can reach out to you directly to register. They don't have to necessarily wait for or go through the refugee resettlement agency or local affiliate to set them up with something like that. They can go directly to you to get signed up. That's awesome.
Yes, they can go to our website and register.
Great. And then there's a certificate course that they can take to be certified, CO instructor, to go through that. Awesome. And they can access any of the resources that you all have on your website. We'll follow up after this in the email with additional links, some of the links that you specifically talked about, including like your YouTube channel and things like that, and opportunities for people to sign up for any of your webinars or things like that that are coming up.
And as you know, Derek, there are efforts related to co-sponsorship at the moment, and sometimes we get co-sponsors through organizations. It's not just it's not like it's just only independent individuals, but sometimes they come to us through, or they get referred to us through resettlement organizations. So what I would recommend is, if you are working with an organization, ask them if there are any recommendations for you to learn more about cultural orientation, and if you need help in registering, etc., feel free to reach out to them if you're working like closely and directly with them, if you have any questions. But if you have any questions to us, if we go to the next slide, please. You can learn more about CORE and about what we do through our newsletter. The QR code here that is shown to you, you can click on scan the QR code, and then you will be prompted to register for our newsletter. And in our newsletter, you will find more information about our resources, upcoming training opportunities, any language resources, new language resources we have, and anything else related to cultural orientation. We can also share the link to you with you later on, so that you can have the direct link to that as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I don't see any other questions. That's fine. Sometimes we have lots of questions. Sometimes we don't have any questions in the question set. That's totally fine. I do have one follow-up for you before we go, and that is some sort of assessment. So, do volunteers have access to sort of a cultural orientation assessment to know, whether they've once they've provided that cultural orientation, that the client has met all of those expected sort of goals and knowledge and skill about that. How does that work?
Yeah, so depending on the program that the client is in, so if they are in the RNP program, usually there needs to be an assessment to enter the results into the organization system to track progress. You can find information on the assessment, and it's actually found in we have it in multiple languages. You can find that also on our website. If, for instance, you're working with Afghan newcomers, and a lot of places do not have the capacity to do the assessment. To the best of my knowledge, the assessments are not required for the APA program, but that is something I can double check and get back to you on. So if and in that case, you can ask the resettlement agency if you're working with one, if it is required, and if it is required, it is highly recommended that you use the one that we have, which asks multiple, questions to measure knowledge, if the client got the information right or not. And after you do the assessment and you see that the client got 2 or 3 questions wrong, I think, and the best practice that we recommend is you go over the same information again to make sure that the client has the right information. You should also talk with if they have a caseworker, if you're working with somebody from the resettlement agency, make sure to share with them that this was what happened, so that they also on their own can go back and cover that information through multiple points in service delivery.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much for explaining that and for sharing. Thank you so much, Manar, for being here and for sharing your expertise, walking through the website. Such extremely helpful to really so people can really see kind of how to navigate that, and just hearing you talk about it, and all of the wonderful resources that you all provide.
Thank you.
Really a treat to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Derek, and thank you, Grace, for being kind to go back and forth with the slides. I hope this was helpful, and I'm so glad that I was able to share our resources and our work with you all. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at coresourceexchange@rescue.org. We can also share that email address in the follow-up as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for attending today's RWC Lunch and Learn. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact info@refugeewelcome.org. Once you leave today's webinar, as I mentioned before, you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording of today's webinar, as well as descriptions for more upcoming RWC Lunch and Learns. On behalf of Refugee Welcome Collective, thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.